Join me today as we talk about an 80s sci fi movie, The Wraith. This is the Geek Cabal channel. My name is Bobbie, and today we're going to be talking about a interesting, bizarre sci-fi movie from the 80s known as The Wraith. Now, if you're like me, and you were alive in the 80s, and you had HBO, there's a fair chance you've seen this movie. Outside of that, I don't know. It ran a lot on HBO in the 80s, but beyond that, I had to look it up to watch it again, and I don't know that I've watched it since the 80s, to be totally honest. So, yeah, it's one of those movies that just used to run all the time on HBO. Back whenever HBO didn't have a bunch of shows they had produced, they basically just ran movies all the time. And up until, I think it was Taxi Cab Confessions was their first show, I think. And then that was a success, and then it kind of went on from there. Not to complain, their shows are good. But, like, at night, they just ran weird things. That's what they ran. Horror movies, sex movies, whatever. Sometimes both. Or weird sci-fi movies. So this one is not so much a horror movie, but it's kind of close. Like a lot of horror movies have sci-fi elements. So it's on that line there somewhere. But anyway, before you're going too far and spoiler a 30-some-odd-year-old movie, who's in it? Well, Charlie Sheen is in it, although he doesn't show up until a little bit. No, he shows up at the beginning. Never mind. And major spoiler: he's the Wraith. I'll explain more about his character as we go on, but that's basically all I can really call him. Nick Cassavetes, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He plays Packard. He is the street gang leader. He's got some other credits to his name, things here and there, but the main thing I recognize him from is the movie Face Off, where he plays Dietrich. He's the bald, I guess his gang leader. He's the guy that once John Travolta and Nicolas Cage have switched places, Nicolas Cage has to turn to him to kind of help him out. And I think Gina Gershon is his girlfriend, wife, or maybe his sister. I don't remember. But anyway, that's the main thing I remember him from. Then we have Randy Quaid, who is Loomis, presumably no relation to Dr. Loomis from Halloween, but you never know. He's the sheriff in this quaint little southwestern town, which I don't recall if it was New Mexico or Arizona, somewhere down there. And then we also have Clint Howard as one of the other gang members. He is like their tech engine guy. Since I have no idea who Clint Howard is, I've got the feeling he's playing a person much younger than his actual age, but it's hard to tell, so... Anyway, so there's other folks in the movie, like the woman who played, I think it's Audrey, or Aubrey, I think it's Audrey, in Twin Peaks. She's in it, but I didn't remember exactly who she played, so there's only a handful of female parts, and I don't think she was the main girl, but she could have been. Because the whole time I was watching the movie, I thought that girl looked familiar, so maybe it was her. But I didn't rewatch the movie to learn her name, because names were kind of in short supply in this movie. So, what's it all about? You have a group of street racers, I guess, who kind of hustle people for their cars, which I presume they then either sell or strip down or whatever, because they all have cars, so I don't know why they need more. Yeah, so they street race on the highway, out in the desert, middle of nowhere. Their gang leader, Packard, is a verifiable psychopath. He is obsessed with one girl, and even though he's sleeping with at least one other girl. But it's one of those, like, if I can't have her, no one can kind of things. And so she's in flashbacks. You see that she was seeing a guy, and then him and the gang all showed up, knocked her out, and then stabbed him to death, put him in the trunk of a car, and sent over a cliff and blew it up. So, and she's played dumb. She knows it. At the end of the movie, she reveals she knows it's them. So, yeah. So Charlie Sheen kind of shows up out of nowhere. Oh, we're treated to a meteor shower and a light show at the beginning, where a bunch of beams of light are floating around the desert and all coalesce into one spot and form a car or something. So Charlie Sheen shows up and meets up with the main girl, asks for directions. She's like, "Oh, I'll just show you." And as the movie progresses, he just kind of randomly shows up here and there, and like you see a bunch of scars on his back at one point and everything, and he is the guy that got killed, like brought back or reincarnated or something. Doesn't look like him facially. He's played by a different actor when he's the other character. And so he is back for vengeance against the gang. So he, one by one, challenges them to street races, or at least 3 of them. And he's got some kind of souped up, I think it was a Pontiac, maybe? Really should look at what kind of car it was. Put a picture of it here if I can find it. And so they, it's some kind of, I'm sure it's some kind of concept car. I don't think it's mass produced. So he races them, and he makes the race tight for a little bit, and then he just floors it and gets way ahead of them. And then he'll be sitting there waiting around the curve, just blocking the road, and they'll collide into him and explode. And then his car will just kind of like reassemble itself and take off, and they'll be, dead. But not just dead. Their body will be like the flames didn't touch it at all, and their eyes will be gone. So, yeah, that happens to a couple of them. Then Clint Howard's character realizes what's going on and is like, "Hey, I had nothing to do with killing that guy. I'm not getting killed over this. I'm out." So as he leaves the shop, like literally he's pulling away, and the Wraith car just comes flying in there at 100 miles an hour and smashes into things and blows all up and kills 2 of the gang members right there. So yeah, so Clint Howard lives because he didn't have anything to do with it. Then he takes out the gang leader in the finale in a similar manner. So yeah. The sheriff is baffled by all of it, has no idea what's going on, trying to get some answers out of the gang members. That's fruitless. Then in the end, Charlie Sheen makes his peace, I guess, then gives the car to his brother, who I think at the end figures out who he is, and then he and the girl take off on the bike to, I don't know, I think the West Coast maybe. So yeah, overall, it's a fairly, it's a lower budget movie. It's filmed in a no-name town in the Southwest somewhere, a bunch of highway shots. All the actions in the street racing for the most part, well, highway racing. There's a few like shootout kind of scenes, but nothing major. There's a few fist fights here and there, and basically the characters there's no dimensions to them. They're all cliches or archetypes, if you will. We get no real insight into any of them, like, oh, hey, this guy's the son of the local dog watcher, or something. Like, no. For all we know, none of these people have any kind of families anywhere. We learn nothing about any of them, except for the Wraith, who has a brother. Like, that's I think that's the most we learn about any of these people. So, yeah. So you got that. It's not there's no depth to the movie, I would say. I think it might have been entirely just to show off this car, which again I think was a concept car, not even like a mass-produced vehicle. but it is reasonably entertaining in its simplicity. I'm just saying, don't go into it looking for depth. I mean, I would almost say the Fast and the Furious, at least the first one anyway, might have more depth. Not much, but like, we're talking like from the kiddie pool to like the shallow into the adult pool kind of depth. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, it's entertaining though for what it is. There are some things that seemed inconsistent to me. Like the town itself kind of looked like it was like a one street town, and that seemed to be the way things looked. But then there's like action in back alleys and everything else. It was like industrial centers. So now maybe the town's actually quite a bit bigger than it is, and we've only seen like a portion of it. Again, I'm not looking, I don't need to see like a city map or anything, but consistency would have been nice. And maybe it was, we just saw the outskirts. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's worth a watch if you want to kill like an hour and a half of your time. Definitely worse things to watch on TV. I really can't say like, oh, if you like this person, you should like. It's not like Clint Howard's best work. It's not Charlie Sheen's best work. I think Nick Cassavetes did a better job in Face Off. But yeah, I mean, it's not a terrible movie or anything. It's a solid 5.5, probably. Don't think we're quite in the 6 territory. It's not that it's bad. It's just not that it's really good either. It's, what it does reasonably well. It's just, that's not being I hate to say satisfying movie, because again, for what it is, it's satisfying. But it's very simple. And sometimes simple's good, So anyway, worth checking out if you're looking for some time to kill and want to see a flashback to the 80s. Some overacting on some parts. And let's just take this simple concept and, let's not complicate it with anything. If you want that kind of movie, this is for you. I caught it on Amazon Prime. It's possibly on some of the streaming services right now, and I know it's got physical versions. So anyway, that's about all I've got to say for this one. So let me know what you think down in the comments. If you've seen this one before, plan on watching it, plan on not watching it based on what I've said so far, let me know. Do I can use actors and anything else, anything like that, let me know down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Sharing and commenting are the things that help us spread the channel the most, and we always appreciate that. Really appreciate subscribers. And yeah, that's about all I've got to say for this one. So if you find yourself in the Southwest, watch out for those concept cars that try to street race you and force you to ram them and explode. Avoid that stuff. See you later.